You guys don't mind giving me a round of applause for Mr. Arthur Hood.
So I started out in the development business about 20 years ago. I've run multiple different businesses. Got an investment company. I'm involved in domestic manufacturing. Had an earth moving company, been in the coal business, still in international metals. I'm in a bunch of different industries, developer, home builder, do a lot of land entitlement. But about 5 years ago, we put together a group and got real serious in the last 3 years in the self-storage space as an asset class, and we put a team together to work on providing properties, finding good locations in major markets, and putting those locations together, getting them entitled. A little bit about me: I've got various entities that I own in different sectors of business. I've been self-employed entrepreneur since I was 15. I'm 43, so I've never worked for anybody but me. Major companies here. My property company is primarily a home builder and tract home development site builder, and then EVO is a private equity company of my own where I make investments in various different asset classes. A lot of manufacturing, a little bit of mining, real estate, and I do some private lending. We started developing self-storage facilities in a couple of different markets. We'll get into the details later. Right now we are in Nevada, Arizona, California, and Texas, two of which are actually in good areas that happen to be opportunity zones. The other ones are not opportunity zones, but we do have two that are opportunity zones, one of which is Phoenix Stadium, which is directly next to Diamondback Stadium in Phoenix. Oddly enough, that property in a good market, good area, wound up in an opportunity zone somehow. We put a team together. A friend of mine, which we'll get to in a minute, Robert Papiri, called me a few years ago to get me involved. Russ had built a major storage company to about $1.2 billion just as an employee, and decided he wanted to start his own storage group. So he came together and put together the company. He had a good site acquisition team and brought his team from the previous company over. I'm kind of run through everybody. Robert, who I've done business with for about 20 years, is how I got involved. My initial involvement was I provided some of the money to purchase land and carry on entitlement expenses, was my initial involvement. Then we started raising capital and building projects. I want to focus a little bit on Tony or Anthony. He does all of our underwrite financial forecasting, has done quite a bit of it, and I think most of his numbers have stood up to self-storage, life storage, and CubeSmart. So we have a pretty good team in place, and then I'll get into the projects. So get through everybody for right now. Site acquisition, and he handles all of our entitlement. Example, we picked up a property in Tucson on the interstate for next to nothing. We got it under contract 26 months ago, and then it took about 20 months to get it entitled. We took it from a raw land value of approximately $700,000 that we paid for it. We put a couple $100,000 into the entitlement process. It wound up being worth, we turned down offers of a little north of $4.5 million and appraised at $5 million. That one will begin construction in approximately February or March of this year. Before that, well, we've already covered me, so we'll go out of that. Yeah. One of the things I like about storage, especially our Generation 5 facilities, they're all climate controlled. They all have good access. We even have climate controlled areas where you can park and load and unload. So we built climate controlled garages. Everything is set up, energy savings. All of our hallways have timers and motion sensors on the lights, so there is no really wasted energy. The properties are managed by one or two people. So there's not much of a chance. We don't have a lot of employees. It's one or two people. We co-brand with either Life Storage or CubeSmart. Right now, the next three are going to be Life Storage. So for a small fee, approximately 3%, they're taking care of the phone network, the reservation network, driving leads, and in fact, in the one we just completed, which is also in Novato, our plan showed an 18-month lease up to 90%. We're not even 6 months in, we're about 3 months in of active leasing, and we're at 42%. So it's been a very accelerated lease up. You know, I got in a cab the other day in Vegas, and you know, a guy was talking about how he's been paying $250 a month for some storage unit he hadn't been in 6 years. So, you know, and we're starting to see there's a lot of that. Everybody's set up, when they come in with us, they're on an automatic payment, either hitting a credit card or an ACH. Very low delinquency rates, because a lot of people just don't even realize they're making their payment. They've signed up for their unit for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they're just sitting there, it's on auto pay. They don't think about it. We do have some larger units in every one of our projects, which some people are using, that run some Amazon stores or whatever. They're actually kind of running a business out of their unit, but most of the units are people storing stuff. They're downsizing, they're in apartments, they need a place to put things. Storage has been, at least for the last 28 years, probably the most stable, highest return section of real estate that hasn't had a downturn. It even had growth during the 2008 financial crisis. There's no tenants, there's no real upkeep other than just maintaining the building, and most importantly, no toilets, no midnight phone calls that the air conditioner isn't running, and everything that comes along with it. I own a significant number of residential units. Anybody want to buy a residential portfolio? I got one I'll give you. I mean, sell you. Depends on the morning. All of our assets that we've acquired the lands at fairly significant discounts to market. We've carried every property through the entitlement process, getting very good facilities designed and built. We have top architects and engineers involved. We've done a lot of cost savings in our building design. And now that we have 6 of these starting construction between now and probably July of 25, we've been able to get some economies of scale in our purchasing of the roll-up doors, of some of our steel, and other things like that, all of which for now are being built by Arco Murray, we're using as a GC, who's a very large contractor, probably one of the largest in the self-storage space. I like them for their ability to get things done, hold it on cost, and they're also big enough, if they have a problem, they take care of the problem. We had on the last project, we had some crazy sub-file of mechanics lien right after CO, and they didn't even ask a question. They just bonded the lien off and they dealt with it. So, you know, there's something to be said for a heavy contractor. All of our projects, we target an IRR in excess of 25%, and we've done that. We've had quite a few in the 39% range. Everything has a preferred return of 8%, so before the management partnership or the GPs get any participation, the investors will get their money back plus an 8% IRR prior to any money to the GP. So no profit on our side until the investors are made whole. I'm also personally an investor in each one of these projects on the LP side as well. Our current projects, this is the newest one. It's on Hurley Street in Houston. It's actually in an underserved area of Houston. A lot of Houston I would consider to be somewhat oversaturated, or at least saturated. This area of Houston is growing, so is all of Houston, but there isn't any real storage there. Definitely not any Class A Gen 5, and there's a lot of non-climate controlled that's full. This project should lease up fairly quickly at a premium rate just because of the area. This project will probably, we're about 75% of the construction plans are completed now. Approval process should be completed by March, with construction in April would be our goal on this particular site. We have closed on the land. Myself closed on the dirt on this one. It is low. It's a 146,000 square foot facility. The 3 mile and the 5 mile has over, well, there's 300,000 people in the 5 mile, 352 square foot per capita. I got to keep all these in my head, but projected IRR is about 32% on this particular one. Hurley is not in an opportunity zone, but the returns are quite significant. Henderson is a joint venture project that we are doing with a landowner. It is just now got approved by the city of Henderson. The mayor kind of congratulated us on that and on the design to make it not look like every other storage facility. All of our garage areas that you pull into are air conditioned, so it is Nevada. It is Las Vegas. It's 112 degrees. So instead of you standing outside and unloading your car, your van, and dying of a heat stroke, you're able to pull into an air-conditioned bay. It ain't 68 degrees, but it's better than the 110. The project is 2.49 acres. It's a 100,000 square foot site. It's got good demographics in the market for that area. And it is slated to also start construction early next year. Then I'll get into the ones I like more, even though I like that one a lot. Owens, this one is an opportunity zone. It's right off the interstate. Construction has started on this one. They're moving dirt out there now. All the site work and utilities are in. Currently, we should start having steel going up within about the next 3 weeks. The facility is a little over 2.5 acre site. The other facilities in the area are very, very old and very outdated, some of which are not even climate controlled, which in Vegas makes a huge difference because no matter what you store, it's some temperature. It'll be freezing cold in the winter and burning up in the summer. And the project is under construction now. This one, we've raised all the money. We would probably bring in a little bit of additional money just to not take on any of the mezz debt. Right now it is fully financed, but we've got a little bit of room left in this particular project. Ended up initially, because it's right off the interstate, we were able to get a sign approved that's, we're about 80 feet above the interstate. It's a high traffic count. We're able to get a billboard approved. Now that billboard will be an electronic billboard. We'll put public storage on it, our site initially, and then after that it'll rotate other advertising. Looks like if we sign the deal with the sign company, they'll guarantee us about $200,000 in income off of that sign, which will add about another $5 million of value to the property for something that's already existing. It was a little hard to get that approved. It took about a year to get the Vegas to approve it, but we got it done. Our projects currently that are in opportunity zones are Tucson, Phoenix, and Owens, which, as Nazar went over earlier, if you put in money that you would owe tax on today, you are deferred until 2028 on your gain. Now, in our projects, most of the ones we feel would probably be completed with enough occupancy to refinance. So prior to the tax liability, we can't guarantee that we as the partnership would refinance the project at that point, and the investors would get somewhere between 70% and 100% of their money back, still own the equity in the project, but they'd have their initial cash back or a large chunk of it. Then these opportunity zone projects, we will definitely hold for the 10 years for the tax benefit to make sure that we get every piece of the tax benefit. One of the things that, that really is handy about the opportunity zone, you're not getting recapture on the depreciation, and everything that you exit with is tax-free as long as you hold it the 10 years. Tucson is a site right next to the interstate. It's also about almost 3 acre site on Irving Boulevard. A little smaller facility. It's 130,000 square feet with about 97,000 square feet of rentable space. It's near a shopping center, and across the road is a bunch of new homes going in, a significant number of new rooftops, all of which are more economy-friendly, smaller homes, 1,800, 2,400 square foot homes, that a lot of people are going to be needing storage because they're not going to be able to fit all of their junk. I mean, nice things. Junk. Phoenix Stadium is actually kind of an awesome project. We will be getting we have actually achieved we got the building permit Friday last week, starting construction about 4 weeks from now. Arco Murray is also building it. It's walking distance to Diamondback Stadium. There's a lot of apartments, condos, and housing directly in that zone. The two other storage facilities in there are 97, 98% leased, and they're older facilities. Public Storage thinks this will lease up fairly quickly, more in about a year basis than the 18 months that we project. It's in it's a property that probably wouldn't have normally been an opportunity zone, but if you check the lineage of the property, it was owned by the McCain Family Trust, so somehow it's in an opportunity zone. That project has got a little bit left on its capital raise. Incidentally, while we were holding it and getting it entitled, we were getting about 40 grand a month in parking for just the empty lot. Because it's right next to Diamondback Stadium, and LAZ, or Laz, the parking operator, was doing a revenue split on just a gravel lot. This facility is about 130 to 127,000 square feet of net rentable. As you can see, we try to keep our net rentable and our overall square footage fairly close, but we do have wide hallways and we do have good loading and unloading zones. So we do have a little bit of square footage. This one's going to look at about a 26% IRR. Mount Hood in Las Vegas is interesting. It's right by Nellis Air Force Base, which incidentally it's a 15-acre site. This particular project will have a lot more than just your smaller climate controlled. There's going to be a lot of 18 by 20 and 12 by 40 and 16 by 40 spaces for boats and RVs. There isn't really much Class A, if you want to say that, RV and boat storage in that area, but it's quite needed. So we have on this site, which is quite large, it's over a 15-acre site with the building itself being about $162,000 for the initial facility, plus 305 exterior drive-up units, which will bring us a total of about 300,000 feet. There's 1,500 homes, single-family homes within a quarter of a mile, plus there's significant base housing. Originally, the city wanted us to do the storage on half of the property and then either do apartments or incidentally a senior care facility. And then the military base actually didn't want housing that close to their back runway. But they preferred and showed that it would be much better just to have it all in storage. And their base will work a deal with the base commander where they'll push the people our way, because they have quite a few people that are moved out of base homes and other places that are now in small apartments, and storage would be a big deal.
That is not an opportunity zone.
This one is not an opportunity.
What's the timeline of construction from January to completion?
Timeline for construction on this one is about 14 months. Give or take. We believe we'll start construction, I really think, in March. Russ would love to see it start in February, but Arco Murray has 3 of ours that will be under construction by then, and I see it being more March. And we're looking at about 12 months for substantial completion, but I think CO, lights on, accepting rents, 14, 15 months. And they actually think, both CubeSmart and Life Storage both believe that we would have the boat and the RV full well in under a year because of the demand for it in the area. Kind of got through that fairly quickly, but what are some general questions you had on?
I was just looking at the opportunity zone and just curious on the time of completion.
The other two, the other projects that are opportunity zone, or the other three that are opportunity zones, one of our goals with those projects is to get them all completed in about 14 months. In fact, Owens will probably be done in about 11 or 12 months. It's already under construction. Once we get at least 50% occupied, we will go ahead and refinance the project, as long as everybody in the partnership agrees, which I think they would, get everybody between 70 and 100% of their capital back. We don't want to borrow any more. We don't want to borrow profit. We just borrow between 70 and 100% of the investment back, so everybody's got their funds back. Then we just sit there and let it click for the 10 years. Because none of us want to get rid of any of the three opportunity zone projects, barring some crazy offer in under the 10 years, for the simple reason, why? Let's not pay tax if we can, legally do so. Then the other three that are not opportunity zones do have very, very high returns, and I think in a very safe asset class. I've been impressed with it. I've built warehouse, I've built and owned commercial warehouse, I've built and owned some industrial spaces, I've built and owned a lot of single family, I've done multifamily, I've developed a couple condominium towers back in 07 and 08. I really like the storage class. I don't have to deal with people. It's just a lot easier asset to deal with, and hadn't had a downturn in 28 years. So.
We're doing a panel, Jason.
Okay. Any questions? Kind of powered through that quickly, but.
Yeah, guys, with the Q&A, we're going to be doing a panel after Jason speaks, so I would suggest you guys already Google some great questions and then ask us. You wrapped up?
Yep.